Okay, it's Sunday.
Hi. Yeah. So we are feeling we're going through something like really weird right now, and that weird thing is that we are getting both ignored and attacked at the same time. So how does that work?
How does it work that a platform that nobody notices and nobody pays attention to is also getting attacked? How does that even happen?
So everybody loves Rumble because Rumble is free speech and all this bullshit, right? But at the same time, Rumble does not protect you from comments that are made. Okay, you can now block things, but they didn't originally allow that. Now they also aren't set up to handle bots that come in and attack you. So we've had 30 comments or more that are all porn oriented, like spam for porn, on yesterday's Bookmark episode or installment.
Let me give a little bit of context. We upload all of our videos to a Rumble account, which we've got
we get
3 subscribers,
2 views,
right? Yeah,
and I don't even know why we bother with it.
Because in case YouTube gets taken down or in case we lose our Facebook platform, we have a backup. It's just for a backup. It's not for anything.
Ragnar Bolin got 1 view on Rumble. See,
right.
Rumble is full of bullshit and right-wing fucking reactionary crap, and as well as kitty videos and cute kids doing
videos.
Bullshit.
So what happened was...
It's worse than fucking TikTok.
So what happened was we put our Bookmark episode from yesterday up on Rumble, and we got spammed with comments. Comments that are pornographic in nature, and they're coming from bots.
Yeah, they're bots.
So they don't have official accounts. There's no way to really track them. It's the same thing that happened to BitChute last year or a couple of years ago, where suddenly it was a cyber attack. So our one video from yesterday, our one video of all the videos that we have on Rumble, it was only this video from yesterday, our Bookmark video that we did, that got attacked with these bots, and it was spamming us to flood us with pornographic material in order to alert systems in place that scan the internet for platforms that are associated with either with extreme content,
right.
Whether it's extreme content about guns, whether it's extreme content about sexuality or domestic violence or domestic terrorism or porn. So we were being spammed with porn. So we obviously took the video down because it was a setup. It was to try to associate us with that. So we took the video down, but not before we had to go in and report each and every bot to Rumble on a Sunday. So that's what we've been doing for the last 3 hours, is deleting all the comments, reporting all the bots, and finally we took the video down.
And that's what they wanted us to do in the first place. So we ended up capitulating anyway.
Right.
And you know why? Because we're spending all our time to defend something that doesn't get any video, it doesn't get any views in the first place.
Exactly.
So what's the point?
So what is the point of having the video up when we don't have any subscribers on Rumble? The video doesn't have any views, and it's already a narrative, and it's already an idea. It's already an opinion that is incredibly unpopular right now. That's why we are, we lost our audio yesterday when we went live.
Right.
For some reason, when we used our streaming service Melon app to go live. Now we're live right now, and everyone can hear us.
We could use the built-in microphone.
It was
and there's no explanation as to why the good microphone was working before we went live and why it was not working when we went live. The only thing that I can point to is that Facebook blocked us 3 or 4 times before we went live. That's why we were late yesterday, because we were trying to find ways to get around that so we could, stream out to Facebook. my account is blocked. It was blocked for 2 days. And that was part of it. So we, logged me out and logged in as Julie, and that still didn't work. We had to finally stream to our Bookmark media page, which we normally don't do that. But, in order to get onto Facebook, we had to do that. Now, that is the only thing that I can point to that is different in that whole scenario. Sounds weird, right? Doesn't make sense, right? But that's the only thing I can point to because we've never had trouble using that microphone on Melon app before. Ever. And we didn't have trouble like when I was testing it out. It was doing fine. And I, even though I had it selected, it wasn't working. So what was going on? Well, Facebook is DARPA. So, there's things that they can do that we don't even know about.
Right, like create and fabricate videos and stories and images that make people very emotional. That's a pretty controversial statement, but I'm going to go ahead and put that out there.
Well, yeah, they fabricate stuff all the time.
So here's an existential question.
That's the whole point of Meta.
Exactly. This is where I wanted to go. The whole idea of Meta, which is what Facebook is right now, is virtual reality. It's alternative reality. Mm-hmm. They are telling you that they're teaching the children about virtual reality, using the headsets, using fake reality, right? So why do you think that what you're seeing on your Facebook page is real? Okay? Why do you think that whether it's a picture of a convoy or a picture of a bird, flying in the air with a frog on its back? Like, why do you think,
pizza or something.
Or a pizza. Like, why do you think that any of this is real? The only thing that you need to remember about what is real is what is happening in your own life. And your emotional reaction to that. So this whole convoy thing is opening up a whole discussion, at least on our platform. No one else is really talking about it.
They're going, yay, convoy.
Right. Yay, something that could potentially be generated, right. Something that could potentially be coming from the metaverse, something that could potentially be used to emotionally manipulate me. Yay, all this.
Right. So
as opposed to like, this is something that could be potentially manipulating me, but I'd like to take a look at the people. What are the people doing? I don't want to pay attention to the convoy, because the reality of it, guys, is that Canada is going to lose 25,000 jobs. Canada is going to lose 25,000 trucker jobs in less than a year.
Yeah. So what this is,
I'm hoping that the people understand that and that they're coming together to fight for those jobs.
They're going, yay, truckers, because they're opposing something else. They're not even talking about jobs. And so we like to talk about how things are signals and signs and pivots. And what this convoy is, and this is not what we touched on yesterday, but I've been thinking about it more because it's like I'm trying to find ways to explain this better. Convoy is a pivot. It's a signal saying that things are changing, things are shifting. We were talking about the 100 monkeys that were the truck crashed and the monkeys escaped or whatever in teen weather. Like the weather was in the teens. The temperatures were in the teens, and these are tropical monkeys that are being transported to a facility for testing. Now we talked about this, and there's a whole other narrative that goes around that and what that was representative, but it was also a pivot because it was a truck and because it was 100 monkeys, and Julia's pointed out the 100 monkey effect. Okay. These are all signals and they're all pivots that are out in the media that tell you that something is coming next. The thing about the convoy is it's about trucks. It's about the supply chain, and it's about truckers. And the truckers' jobs are going away, and we've known about this for a few years now. Right. And what we did yesterday is we walked through those reasons why they're going to go away. Uber and Elon Musk and all these fuckers in Silicon Valley these billionaires who invest in things, we were talking about opportunity zones. Why were we talking about opportunity zones? Because opportunity zones are the template for what's going to happen to the truck jobs.
Right. So let's, just for people who are listening for the first time, let's explain what an opportunity zone is. I'll never forget the first time I ever heard the term opportunity zone. It was when Sean Parker, who was one of the founders of Facebook, and various other Silicon Valley deals and things like that, Sean Parker was very excited about being able to use poor neighborhoods like the one we live in as a tax haven for his, interests, for, and he kind of had to walk back that statement. It was kind of buried under the language around opportunity zones, which was coming from the White House at the time. Trump was talking up opportunity zones, and Ben Carson was talking up opportunity zones. Ben Carson even came to our little area and was like, "You are now an opportunity zone, yay for you." And all it really is are tax havens for the wealthy. This way they don't have to go offshore anymore. And the people that live in opportunity zones, they get their markets closed down, like their access to food closed down. They don't get their roads repaired. Usually you have, government housing buildings like the housing authority.
Right. So you get people in our community, a guy named Craig Ripple, look him up.
Craig Ripple, Rippole.
And, Ripple, yeah. And his company is called Trinity.
Like Trinity Properties.
Yeah, Trinity Properties or something like that. So what he does is he goes in and he doesn't just do development. He does development for corporate, big box or chain type stores. So, he'll go in and he'll remove, like, say, a small business or a local business, and he'll put in a big box chain store, like a Rite Aid or a Walgreens or something like that. Or in the case of recent activity, he took out a favorite diner in the community that had been around for like 50-something years, and it's a chain, but it's a Pittsburgh chain, so it's fairly
very local. It's the community here is very loyal to their local chains.
Right. So it had been around for like 50-something years, and he put in instead a 2-story building that could have had a restaurant in the bottom, but he didn't, of offices for the housing authority. Now, what's interesting about that is that, and I don't know why I'm getting into this, but it just shows you the level of insidiousness around this shit. So it's across the street, literally across the street from a strip mall that he owns, but then behind that strip mall are housing, public housing. That has been around. Well, his father built it.
Right, so it's been around a while.
It's been around since the I think like the 60s or maybe a little earlier than that, and it's scheduled to be demolished and rebuilt.
Right.
Okay, but so what I'm trying to say is that the moneyed interests are focusing their attention on poor communities, and they're using these different means of investment and turning them into places for moneyed opportunities for more corporations. It's never about local business. It's never about boosting the economy for the local area. So these opportunity zones are always designed to hurt the local community and help corporations or help third sector organizations that keep people poor and in their place.
Right. So let's go. What's wrong?
No, I'm just looking for a proxy.
Oh, is she outside?
She's outside.
We have snowfall again today, and it's 20 degrees, and we have a cat that is really young and has a lot of energy, and she's a little bit feral, so she loves to be outside, and she's just going absolutely stir crazy with being inside because of the snow. And so she goes outside and she'll play around in the snow for a little bit, then she'll get super cold and scratch at the door to come back.
Right. She's fairly short hair, so she can't last long outside.
So some people might hear us, explaining opportunity zones and go, "Oh, well, I live in a nice neighborhood, so that won't affect me." Or they might say, so what does an opportunity zone have to do with like this whole convoy supply chain thing? It's they're taking the template. They're taking this idea that there is something that already exists, and then they're going to incorporate a corporate interest into it. So something that's working, that has been working well for the last 50, 60, 100 years, which is the supply, which is how we receive our supplies, through the trucking industry.
Which, I have
trucking industry.
I have a problem with in the first place.
Sure, of course.
And a lot of people do, but
whatever.
Industrial capitalism is not our friend.
Right.
But it's what we live with. It's how we exist right now.
Exactly. So here we have this thing that has been working quite well for the last, we'll just say 100 years.
Yeah.
That it's been working very well for the last 100 years. And so you've got Silicon Valley, you've got people like Elon Musk, and you've got people like the CEO of Uber, who has a long Iranian name, that go, this thing is really, it has been working really well. How can we make money off of it? How can we benefit from it? I know, let's throw in our technology and our sort of big box ideas into it, and then we will generate an income. So they're taking the very idea and the concept and the way that opportunity zones are established, or the way that they run business, and they're applying that same business acumen to other types of industry, like the shipping industry and like other industries, all over. So they're trying to take these ideas which hurt the people and apply them to places in different ways. And I really hope that makes sense to you.
So let me describe this in another way. They're now starting to take away the jobs that were left over, especially in this area, that were left over after NAFTA. The only really good paying jobs after NAFTA were construction and trucking and maybe something, I don't know what else. Maybe, I don't know.
Who knows?
Those were the jobs that
like
were
the working class jobs.
working class jobs that were still like paid well, right?
Where you had a union and
and trucking
maybe like
jobs,
police.
And
I don't know.
And I have to say they probably took a serious pay cut taking a trucking job after working in a steel mill. I don't know because I don't know what the pay rate was, but around here, if you have a commercial class license, you can make maybe around $25 to $26 an hour. That's good wages around here.
Yeah.
It's still expensive, but around here, but it's better than, driving a school bus for, and that was better than working at McDonald's, right?
Right.
So, these are the kinds of jobs that are available around here if you're not of the managerial class or the professional class, right?
Right.
Okay. So what they did with NAFTA was they took out all the infrastructure that allowed people to make a living at decent wages, right? I mean, it wasn't great work. A lot of people, they just, whatever. I mean, it wasn't great work, but it paid well, and they were able to, have a middle-class life, and the city was a much better place than it is today, okay? Okay, so they took that away. Now what they're doing instead is they're going after those jobs that were left over, because now they found a way to automate the things that they couldn't automate before, right? They're automating trucking jobs. They're taking the people out of the jobs that only people could do before. And they're doing this through various types of technology. And one of those is AI. One of those is using autonomous vehicle technology. And then they're extending it into the business models that have been, dominantly, predominantly operated by humans. So now we have what do they call the word? The logistics business, okay? Using trucking or trains or whatever to move product from the docks to the warehouses, okay? So more local deliveries. They're going after long scale or long distance trucking. So you've got logistics. You've got the people that are creating the routes, and then you've got the truck drivers, and you've got the trucks. Okay. So now what they're looking to do is they're looking to replace the people who had jobs putting logistics together using software and artificial intelligence. They're combining that with autonomous vehicles, And then that extra other layer that we talked about is the green layer, and that is electric vehicles.
Right.
Okay. So now what you've got is you've got other industries now making lots of money for doing very little at the expense of most of the population. And that's what's going to be taking place in Canada, and that's what we tried to walk everybody through yesterday, and that's why we're getting just hammered with like inappropriate spam from bots on Rumble.
Right.
Now, YouTube keeps that kind of shit out.
Yeah, YouTube filters it out
because
automatically.
Yeah, because they have an interest in keeping that crap out.
Right.
So that's ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. So our YouTube video seems to be doing fine. We went back and took down our live version of Bookmark, and we edited it because we had the first 10 minutes you couldn't hear us, so we began it when you could hear us,
or at least the first 6 minutes you couldn't hear us, and then the next 4 or 5 we were talking about why you couldn't hear us.
But so we went ahead and edited it, so it's out there if you guys want to share it around. But I think that one of the frustrations that we have is I'm not, to be honest with you, I'm not as frustrated about it as JP is.
It hits me now and then, and this morning was just really frustrating because it's like at first it was like, okay, let's just deal with this. I know it's sort of like vomiting, right? It's like I don't want to do it, and then
but
you have to, and so it was like so I had to get rid of that video. I did not want to take it down from Rumble because I knew that was the intent of that attack.
Right.
Okay.
And you didn't want them to win.
Right. I didn't want the terrorists to win.
Exactly.
Right? And I think that's what pissed me the fuck off is like I had to fucking capitulate
to someone else's sabotage. That's what it is. It was sabotage. They were trying to sabotage our brand.
And so here it is. It's like, if they don't squelch us, they attack us. So we've got this little pinprick of information getting out to the world.
Right. Oh my God. We have no reach at all.
Now, I'm thankful for our patrons for supporting us and keeping us going. That's really awesome.
That's beyond, there's the gratitude that we have for that, for the little bit of patronage that we do
and I'm thankful for the people who share our work because somebody shared our thing from last night or yesterday to another guy
who has 50,000 followers
on Facebook,
and that was Frida who did that actually. Yeah. Thank you for that, Frida.
Yeah, and so we actually used some of his. Like one of his comments in what we were talking about, but I think we enhanced it quite a bit because we went into a lot of detail.
We took a simple statement he made and we expanded on it, basically.
Yeah, because it supported what we were already thinking.
Right. So I think one of the frustrations is that, here JP is on a 2-day ban, which is almost over. And I showed him, the person... I showed him this person's page, and he saw that this person has over 50,000 followers, and he practically threw the device across the room because he was like, "Book of Hours has 1,000 followers, and we actually create content. We actually have the creative skills. We actually have the design skills. We actually have the understanding about the corporate takeover of this. We understand also about class war and the class issue at play. We also have a creative nature. Why is it that we only have 1,000 followers or under 2,000 followers, and this person who just does Facebook posts all day has 50,000 followers? How is that even possible?
Right.
And all I can say is that a lot of these people, and I love this guy, and I follow him, and he just accepted my friend request, and I think he's a great individual, and we have nothing against him. We have nothing against him. I think what it is that a lot of these people have, for instance, if you look at doctors who have become really popular over the last 2 years, they had an inborn following from their past, which then carried over into this new model and this new world and this new normal that we live in. We didn't have that, so we're trying to start from scratch, and it's really difficult because we see a lot of people out there that are really reactionary and they don't get things right, and yet they are popularized and retweeted and reposted and requoted and just, celebrated as if they are, the second coming of Christ. And we're just like, but they're wrong. Their whole take on this is wrong.
Completely wrong.
The only thing that they have that's right is that they're against it, but they don't even understand the first bit about what's really going on.
Yeah, they'd rather blame the People's Republic of China or the Chinese army or whatever. It's like, that's just easy. That's like shooting fish in a barrel. It's like, and it has nothing to do with that. I mean, they're involved, but it's not about them.
No.
This is about corporations taking over the world.
Yeah.
And even the World Economic Forum is just a bugaboo. I mean, they're basically a marketing department.
All they are is the marketing department for, technology and for innovation.
When people go, those technocrats. Well, who are they? I mean,
Technocrat, that word kind of doesn't sit well with me
either, because it's like Mr. Global, right? It's an easy out. It's an easy out to go, oh, well, it's that. Well, what is that? What is it? What's behind that? Who is that?
Yeah,
right?
it just gets into yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. I'm saying that these phrases and these catchphrases, they're easy to remember, like the word technocrat or like the phrase Mr. Global, which to me, when I first heard Austin Fitts say the word Mr. Global, I was really offended. I was like, don't condescend to me like I'm a 5-year-old.
Right.
Well, now Mr. Global, he's the bad guy. It's like, we're not stupid over here.
Well, okay,
we can speak in intelligent...
What it does, those things, what they do is they stop conversations. They stop investigation. It's like, oh, well, it's just the technocrats. Oh, well, it's just Mr. Global. Well, okay, so what does that mean?
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
And when I hear, this equals that, I'm going, okay, but let me explain why this equals that. Why does this equal that? And so I want to, that's why we're here. And yet, we get tons of abuse, and we get, like we're the substitute teacher, I guess,
I guess
we're,
so.
like we're not respected.
Right.
We get dissed. We get, because the substitute teacher doesn't make the same as the regular teacher.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what it feels
like.
The
substitute
like.
teachers that I always had in school, if I go all the way back to my, elementary school days, were always smarter and more interesting than the regular teachers.
It's because they can't, they have a harder time fitting into the apparatus.
Right. I want to touch on something regarding Elon Musk, the liberal reaction to the convoy, Canadian convoy trucking thing. Yeah. And I want to tell a story about, I want to give you a little insight into like the San Francisco mindset, like the liberal, like establishment Democratic Party San Francisco mindset. And I think I'm going to surprise probably even you.
Wow. Okay.
And definitely our listeners. They understand, they have just like we do on this platform, they really truly understand that it's all about money. And some of the establishment friends of ours, or former friends, are totally against it. I remember talking about the infrastructure around Twitter and eBay and all of these Silicon Valley platforms, and I remember our friend Susan, she likes to think that she's a fringy Green Party loyalist, but she's actually a Democratic Party.
She's blue all the way.
She is totally blue all the way. She just was like, oh yeah, because Pierre Omidyar needs to put in a new pool for his third mansion.
Maybe
like they understand they're very cynical.
Right. Maybe that's the cynicism that Stepling was talking about. Which is, he said, cynicism is a form of conformity.
Exactly.
And I agree 100% with that.
Right.
In this context of Susan, saying, oh, well, he needs to just do this and blah. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's okay. So I guess what I'm trying to explain is that when you get this kind of language from the mainstream press that says this convoy is nothing more than a group of, racist, white supremacist, whatever it is
else
that
they want to throw at it. Well, you showed me a political cartoon where it was the convoy. It was like trucks looking down at the trucks from above, and they all said fascism on the trailers.
Right. So that's what the liberals think of this, because of the fact that they know in a very cynical way, even some of the liberals that are like, especially the Silicon Valley liberals that are kind of benefiting from all this technology and benefiting from, all these things that we're experiencing, they know full well that Elon Musk is behind it, that Uber is behind it. They know full...
I don't think they do.
Well, some of them do. Okay, not all of them. I get it.
Because there's a lot of them that are just like, they're completely clueless to what's going on in the world. I would say
that over the years, that cluelessness has broadened, has grown. But I'm talking about like back years ago when that cynicism was a sign of intelligence towards, like, you've got Omidyar, you've got Parker, you've got, Musk, you've got all these
Facebook dude.
You've got all these people that are
Zuckerberg
benefiting, Tim Cook, Apple, like all these Silicon Valley people that are benefiting from this technology. And so what came about in this bro culture, this sort of Silicon Valley bro, I want to make the world a better place culture, was this understanding of it and this cynicism of it, and also they benefited from it. Mm-hmm. So that's why they look down their noses on the rest of the world. Like, don't you understand that what's really going on? Whatever, And so what the media does then is it turns it into like a racist
right
thing,
so there's like another dynamic happening here too, and what you were talking about, like with Susan, for instance. Susan
good friend, by the way, very sweet.
Well, but she fucking has turned on us.
Well, she I don't think she's necessarily turned on us, as she's just roundly dismissed us in a very San Francisco way.
In a very San Francisco way.
Like, we're just going to ghost you.
Because, exactly, yeah.
That's what they do.
Because now we're fascists.
No, now we don't believe the official narrative of the COVID narrative that is being shilled out.
Okay.
I mean, we're talking about the most heavily dosed city in the country.
Right. Okay, so let me get back to what I was going to say about that then. Is, she's of the group of people that are the so-called, they're the leftovers of the counterculture from the 60s, okay? So they still think in those ways, and so they're like, for them, it's like question reality and question authority, and these, like, again, coming back to these catchphrases that mean nothing, right? So that is that conformity of cynicism that allows them to get away with not investigating anything, not questioning anything, and believing everything. So as long as they can come out and say, oh, well, Elon Musk is just doing blah, blah, blah. Or
just doing his job because he wants that extra pull for that extra
exactly.
mention.
Or the guy from Twitter is just doing it, or Zuckerberg is just trying to, refurnish his mansion in the Mission. Right? On Liberty Hill. And so,
Yeah.
And so that allows them to just compartmentalize, to use a Clinton term, compartmentalize that kind of information into something that's nothing more than cynicism, and allowing them to then see the protests of people who are actually like against what's going on being manipulated by people who are trying to change the world and to fuck these people over.
Right.
So they're being manipulated by people who are fucking them over, but they're protesting against something that's really valid, and then getting dismissed by the cynical liberals in Silicon Valley and San Francisco as if, they're fascists. And what's really fascist is what's going on against humanity right now. And they're supporting that fascism without even knowing it or even questioning it.
Right, exactly.
And that's the thing that's why I am so fucking pissed off all the time.
That's why you're always pissed off. No, I get it. It's because you somehow have been able to operate like in between the cynicism of Silicon Valley, and also you hold on to the knowledge and the understanding of what's really going on. But then even deeper than that, you have like this inborn understanding of their personality and where they're coming from. Like
inherent,
maybe this inherent, personality that they have. Like you get it, and so do I.
Because we lived around them for most of our
lives.
Well,
and whether you want to admit it or not, that is who we are. We're just a little more enlightened than they are.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well,
I'm a San Franciscan.
We allowed ourselves to question further.
Right.
Why? Because it's not just that, he wants another, he's not paying for another boat.
I know.
I know what you're saying. That was just a toss-off comment. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that's their attitude.
Right.
Right? And they just stay in the cynical place without investigating what is behind what they're claiming that to be.
Somebody is commenting, Michelle is saying they do not even realize it. They do, actually. They're very much aware of the fact that 25,000 trucker jobs will be going away. And what those 25,000
I agree with Michelle.
That they don't.
That they don't. And I don't think they want to know.
Okay, so I guess I'm...
Or
I
they
guess
care.
I'm
they refer to where we live as flyover country.
Well, yeah, I guess what I'm being is like... pardon the pun, but uber liberal. I mean, uber literal. Like, there are people who work at Uber Freight and
they are in the upper echelons. They are in the they're in the leadership of these companies.
Right.
So they are of the millionaire and billionaire classes.
Right. And so Uber Freight, as we talked about yesterday, has merged or has been purchased by, I forget.
No, Uber Freight purchased.
Oh, Uber Freight purchased this.
Transplace.
Right. So, which is all about shipping, right? And all about your supply chain. So, I guess what I'm trying to say is that you've got your managerial class that work at Uber Freight. Okay.
Yeah, and this is the upper managerial
class that are sending down memos to their staff and to their workers who make pretty good money.
Who don't understand why things are being done.
Right. And they simply follow the
orders.
The orders. So they're following the orders, and they get that they have to put these systems in place. And so on some kind of level, they understand it on a logistics, like engineering level, but as far as morally and all that, they're in the dark. They're in the dark. Like, they don't understand
that. They don't question it.
25,000 Canadian trucker jobs are going away in less than a year. Like, they don't, and even if you were to tell them, do you realize that by putting these systems in place, you're going to be doing away with 25,000 trucker jobs in the next year? They would be like, yeah, we know. That's okay.
They wouldn't even know how to process it.
They would be like, "What's your point? Like, right. I'm just doing my job.
I'm just exactly, and over the years of working with these corporate types, they're so focused on their little silo of what they need to do, right? That they don't have time to think about outside of that. In fact, I've been studying something called service design, which is something that is inherent to the banking or insurance industry, where they're talking about something that is a service rather than a product. Okay, now a service crosses all the silos. Okay, so you have to be a broad thinker, and you have to go across all the product silos, and you have to think about how each one of those things interacts with the customers. Okay, the way that most people in the corporate world think are in the silos. They don't think across the silos, so they don't see everything, and so they don't understand everything. And so when they're told something like 25,000 Canadian trucker jobs are going away because of what you're doing with the software that you're implementing, they have no means of understanding what that actually is, or
right.
how that affects them, or why.
Right. So I would also say that, starting back, I would say in the 90s, so at least 20, 30 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
The corporate, the way that the corporate world worked was changed. So nowadays, let's fast forward up to 2022. When you are in a corporate environment, you have a work family, you have a work wife, mm-hmm. you have a work husband, you go on retreats with your Silicon Valley.
Well, I think even that's changed now.
That's once again been evolved into the fourth industrial revolution because most people are working from home now. But they carry
and even when they do go into the office, they're making people come in dribs and drabs, so they don't connect.
Exactly. Right. So they don't connect, so they can't talk. Because what was happening was there was this overflow of, we're going to change the way the corporate infrastructure works. We're going to do retreats. We're going to it's going to be a second family to you. We're going to do after-hour parties. Mm-hmm. Remember going into these, design. What were those things?
Launch parties?
No. Those design things that we used to go to for fun. And you would go into a tech company.
Right. Right. What was it called? Creative mornings.
Creative mornings.
Right.
So you would get somebody who was like a powerful person in their industry who was really creative, and they would give these really great speeches, and there was always these really awesome catered breakfasts. And a couple of times JP and I, and they would use different facilities in San Francisco.
Right. The one time we went, it was at Nerdwallet.
Yeah, okay, so we went to this facility called Nerdwallet, which is, again, a San Francisco-based company, and they have an office in San Francisco, and so they used this powerful speaker, used their conference room, not even conference room, but like
their basement.
It was like their basement that had been that had been rehabbed into like an employee like fun zone, like ping pong tables. There was a bar.
It was a full bar. It was a good full bar,
like a cafe bar. Like they had catered lunches, So, and we were like, holy shit! Look at the way these people like. And this was like right in downtown. Look at the way these people get to live. Like life is super fun. All of that in the age of COVID, in the fourth industrial revolution, has gone away. Like you had that briefly. You had that really strange merging of corporations and fun, and incorporating this idea that corporate life was like your second family.
Right, and you had scooters.
Like it was super fun. Like you had this pretty much in New York, Chicago, and San Francisco, and probably places like Austin. And, probably
all the big cities.
Portland and Seattle. All those.
And even in like the one Wells Fargo office I worked in, there was a ping pong table at least.
Right. Exactly. Right. So, So the point, and everything's free. Like all of your meals are free. All of your alcohol is free. Like you don't pay for anything. It was like the best of everything. It was like this. It was like the high point of the corporate. The way the corporate
life,
world worked, corporate life. Now all of that has gone away because apparently you're allergic to one another now, and so you have to wear masks, and only 2 people are allowed in the office at one time. They don't want people to talk because, behavioral insights that were signed into legislation through an executive order by Obama in 2015 stated that we can't have these ideas starting to form as people come together. We have to put ideas into people's minds, and the best way to do that is to focus on each person individually, and not have the influence of their community around them.
Exactly. So that's why,
even if it is a corporate community,
right? That's why people think it's silos, because now all communication is potentially monitored and controlled, because you've got chat, email, and video conferencing,
and nothing's private,
and nothing is private, right? So, and even if you have a phone call, I mean, that's still open to be monitored and looked after. So so I think and I mentioned this yesterday, the whole idea of intersectionality rising up as something being used in the corporate sector,
right?
Okay, as a means of lifting you up. I'm a Latina lesbian accountant with disabled
with
whatever the whatever the little touch points are, because they have all these touch points, right? and you fill all the gaps, and then it's like, oh, so I get a gold star because I'm me, okay?
Right.
But see, that's another form of conformity, right? Because you now are using your identity and leaving behind your personhood. So you're lifting up something that is nothing more than labels about you,
right?
rather than, who you actually are. It's the what, not the how, or it's the what, not the, all.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So how does this apply?
It's two-dimensional.
Right. So
and
how
that's
does
why
this...
that's why nobody understands when you say 25,000, Canadian trucker jobs are going away because you implemented that software.
Right.
Or your team did.
There you go.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't compute.
Right.
Because that's not part of their world.
Right. And also I would argue that even before this new kind of corporate family structure was put into place, corporations had started to put in like this month is breast cancer awareness month, people, so everybody bring pink cupcakes.
Right.
So you team A over here, you have to bring pink. So breast cancer month is October, right? So for this Friday in October, you team A, you need to bring in pink cupcakes. And team B, for the next Friday in October, you need to bring, pink t-shirts. And then on the 3rd Friday in October, we're all going to take the day off work and do a special 5K run for breast cancer awareness. So what they did is they co-opted your sense of wanting to do the right thing, of wanting to say you really do have a concern about breast cancer awareness, and instead of going out on your own and doing your own research about, where it might actually come from, why certain women in certain parts of the country were affected more than other women were, what was the difference, and actually starting to think and use your critical thinking skills, the corporations came in and co-opted this idea. Oh, you have a concern about breast cancer awareness? Well, that's great, because every October, we do a team thing about it. And you can bring pink cupcakes and wear pink t-shirts and go on 5K runs and all this.
Right.
So it co-opted. So that is also part of the corporate taking over the mind.
Right. And let me add on to that now. So now that they can't really do those things, what they've adopted is now co-opting the word empathy.
Right.
And empathy is being used in the most empty form that you could possibly use it in, right? Because empathy, nobody who's using it
really
in the corporate sense understands what it is, because empathy is not what they think it is. They think that what they're saying is compassion. Okay, empathy is compassion and understanding combined. Okay, empathy is the equivalent of intuition.
Right.
It's something that you have to learn and understand before you can have it.
Right.
Because empathy on its own is an empty thing.
So you can't have empathy unless you have intuition.
Understanding and compassion.
Understanding and compassion.
Right.
You can't have understanding and compassion unless you have...
Well, no, that's not... You don't have to be intuitive to have compassion.
I guess what I'm trying to do is
you have to have an
formalize
experience.
It.
Right, okay, well, you have to
going back to that idea that experiential knowledge is what creates empathy.
Yeah.
So...
Thank you.
So you've got, empathy, which comes out of compassion and intuition, and you can't have compassion and intuition unless you have an experience which has chipped away at you. You have, unfortunately, I know this is really hard for people to hear, but in order to have authentic empathy, you have to have been hurt. You have to have been kicked around a little by...
I think so,
by, maybe your family of origin, or maybe, your boss, or you have had to have had an experience that really, truly, destroyed you, so that you could truly understand what is happening with mankind.
Right.
In order to have legitimate empathy.
And if you recall, growing up, those are the kinds of things that always get pushed down or ignored, right? So you can say, oh, well, I understand what you're saying because, I did, I went through this as well. Well, there's two things to that. One is, you can't really, but also it always gets pushed down or like ignored because it's like, oh, well, you're just whining.
Right. So we're taught as Americans, I don't know what's going on in other countries, but the way that the family of origin, rears up and raises their children and in the family dynamic in the United States is, tough it out, bootstrap it, don't show your feelings. Don't be a wuss, don't be a sissy about this. Like, everybody gets hurt. Like tough. You're allowed to have, the feelings you have, and as long as they don't like control and overtake you and completely define your life. Because I've met people and who have allowed the pain in their life to define them. I have met them, and it was like a punch in the gut, a punch in my soul's gut, because they were they lived in grief. They lived in it.
Well, I mean,
and they couldn't get out of it.
I was dating somebody that was like that.
Yeah, living in grief is no good. And so you have to be able to accept that this happened. Good friend of ours who lives in New York, I have watched her progression over the last few months. Since we met her, a few months ago. I don't know how long it's been. It hasn't been quite a year. But she went from being flattened by her family, who denied her entrance into their lives, especially around the holidays, when they were like, you have to have a PCR test in order to come to family dinner, and she stood her ground. And so then came a myriad, a flood of memories about being scapegoated as a child, always being the one to be attacked or looked down on, when she was always the one that had the best ideas, was the most creative, had the most empathy.
And that's the way, that's always the scapegoat, is always that, right?
And I watched, and I thought, I wonder how this individual who has 2 children, I wonder how they are going to progress. Like, where's their arc? And she has been speaking out against the mandates at the local schools. She has found people in her area that she can connect with. She went to a party recently, and has gone out of her comfort zone. And so that's the kind of evolution and progression that we had. Like, if I could like write a pamphlet how to like exist in the age of the 4th Industrial Revolution, I would use her as a perfect like standard example. Like, this is the perfect formula. Allow yourself to experience the pain. Like, there's a lot of pain here. Go over the past and recognize your role in your family of origin. Get out of it somehow.
Yeah.
Because each individual is going to have a different way of getting out of it. And go experience a new life and get out of your comfort zone. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're really going to like it. We're really out of our comfort zone here in Pittsburgh.
That's where we're always, Yeah.
We wish that we still lived in San Francisco because of all the beauty and the nature and all the wonderful things.
And we have a West Coast approach to things.
Right.
And
a San Francisco approach to things, which makes it even more weird to people.
Right. And so we're real weirdos here. And but we were weirdos in San Francisco, too.
So I guess what I'm saying is that this whole truck convoy thing, people are going to, again, they're going to evolve from it and become...
I hope so.
Become maybe a different kind of person
than
they were before.
I think they're all going to be very, very disappointed in what happens.
So... like, logistically, like, sorry to use that term, because that's all what this is about, right? This is all, the whole convoy hashtag and the whole, like, emotional stuff around it has to do with logistics. Like, the logistics of the supply chain. That's what it really has to do with. So it's funny that I use that term.
That word.
But I think that what's going to happen is that even though you might see certain areas of Canada open up and do away with their mandates, like you've already got people saying, I think, Saskatchewan or something.
Yeah.
But I feel like Saskatchewan would have done away with
anyway.
maybe they had already done away with their mandates and they were just waiting for this opportunity to make the announcement because it goes along with the trucker story,
maybe,
right?
I don't know, but...
So they did away with their mandates, and all this. So probably what's going to happen is Canada is going to go by way of England, right, and say, okay, we're done. like, go back to your normal life, which is basically what Johnson said. I support
Boris
the idea.
Johnson,
Boris Johnson. I support the idea of everybody going back into their offices. Take off your mask. Don't put the masks on the kids at school. You don't have to get a vaccine. You don't have to show a passport. Just be normal. Okay, the end. Goodbye. Yeah. And he did that. Mm-hmm. And he did that in a 60-second speech. And it's up to the corporations and the school districts and the various municipalities to decide whether they want to do that.
See, and that's what all the politicians have been doing.
Of course,
because everybody loves DeSantis, but DeSantis did this very same thing.
Right.
He kicked the can down the road.
And there are parts of Florida where you can't do anything without showing a passport or wearing a mask or whatever, and you just avoid those parts of Florida, right. I guess.
But now it's the corporations and the schools that are, as we showed on the one video, that girl getting stuck into a vestibule, into that antechamber.
Yeah.
Where it's colder than inside, but only slightly warmer than outside, and no facilities. And she was lucky to have a bench to sit on.
Did she have a bench?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there was a bench there.
Yeah.
But
and now you've got Los Angeles groups of students who aren't vaccinated.
Right, and they're being cordoned off
with police tape on the parking lot.
Yeah.
With nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and that's hot. So when and it's not it's winter in LA, so it's not going to be hot. But come springtime and
summer
and later into like May, if you're stuck out on a parking lot in Los Angeles, it's not a pleasant place to be.
Right. So, but even with the whole weather thing aside, the fact is that these children are being treated
pariahs,
like pariahs and second-class citizens.
And these girls even had masks on.
Yeah, they even were wearing masks, so they were doing everything right. It's just the only thing, they weren't vaccinated.
They were doing everything right by following the rules that were set aside for them.
Right. It's like you're making us wear a mask. Fine, we wear a mask. But you're still not letting us in school.
But see, that's the problem with capitulation, right? Because they're always going to ask for more.
Right. So, and the Los Angeles Police Department showed up, and they didn't do anything. They were literally sitting around with their thumbs up their noses, like...
They were the ones putting up the tape.
Well, they put up the tape because that's what the schools told them to do. The school told them to put up the tape. The police are not... The police, especially in the United States, the police are like... I don't know about this. I don't want to go arresting 13-year-olds because they're not vaccinated. What the fuck? I'm not going to do this. They're not disrupting. They're following the orders. They went outside. They wore a mask. Like, you can't...
Well, and see, cops are designed...
They're just like...
Cops are designed to protect property,
not people.
Right.
So the cops are literally sitting around like, I don't know what to do. Like, this is totally out of our element. Like, what do we do?
Right. They say they're there to protect and serve, but they're there to protect and serve corporate and wealthy interests.
Right. So if the girls started breaking windows and taking baseball bats to the property, then they could get arrested.
Yeah.
But they're just sitting there like, what the fuck do we do now?
Right.
So, and I noticed that the majority, this is just, my feminine side coming out, but I noticed that the majority of the students
girls
that are being targeted in general across the United States are girls. Mm-hmm. Do we have like this? I keep going back to The Handmaid's Tale. Well, I feel like in some weird warped version, like we're living it.
It's about reproduction. This is all about reproduction. So when we talk about reduction of population, why do you think that this shit that are in these shots goes after the reproductive organs?
Right.
And why are there... So we just heard a statistic today that miscarriages are up 300%.
300%.
When does anything happen 300%? And if it did in the past, it would have been reported on. There would have been a fucking, telethon and a walkathon and a runathon and a runathon, right? To make it go away.
Right.
It would be a crisis. And now it's being ignored, right? And in fact, if anything, if you say that, they'll say, oh, that's just propaganda. Or you're lying.
Because
or that's COVID is more... Because it's more important for you to get the shot against COVID because COVID is worse than anything.
Right.
So it's worse than a heart attack. It's worse than cancer. It's worse than a miscarriage. It's worse than whatever is being done to the fetus or the child that's born.
Right.
Okay, I see. So as long as they got their shot, wow, dodged that one. That's like, I dodged sunstroke because I, was under the shade of a tree in, 120 degree weather. It's like,
Not really.
you're still dealing with the heat.
Right.
And that could kill you.
Right.
But, you avoided the sun exposure. Well, okay. Yeah.
So going back to
it's a bad analogy, but whatever.
Yeah, no, I get it. Going back to the trucker convoy. Right. So what you have, this is our absolute position. The people who are coming together and wanting the mandates to end, you don't need the convoy in order to do that. Right. You could have all come together, the millions of you or the hundreds of thousands of you in Canada that have done this. You could have all come together anyway.
You see, everybody. Go ahead.
But you didn't need a convoy to do that.
Because everybody needs a goddamn hero. And this is why we're always saying no heroes.
Right.
Stop making people and groups of people into heroes. They're not heroes.
Right. So,
you can do this on your own. You don't need this focus.
Right.
But everybody needs that focus.
And so our position regarding the actual convoy is that it is a well-funded PSYOP.
Yeah.
It is a well-funded PSYOP to act as cover for the fact that 25,000 Canadian truckers are going to lose their jobs in the next year. That's according to the report that we shared yesterday on our Bookmark episode. And also, they're using the applications that are used in opportunity zones. They're taking the format, and they're applying the same format to other types of industry where they can change and invest in and see a return on their investment in things that are already working, such as supply chain logistics. It's already working.
Right.
But hey, let's go in and capitalize on that, use it as a so-called tax haven or whatever, invest in it because infrastructure has to do with transportation, and transportation is often like you don't pay the kind of taxes to the government.
Right. So, for instance, the transportation in infrastructure doesn't pay taxes. Like there's a CSX train depot, or it's a intermodal train depot.
Right.
So what that means is things will come in containers on the trains, and then they will put those on trucks, and then those will go out. So this is part of the infrastructure as well.
Right.
Well, it was as if CSX practically abandoned that station,
right,
that depot last summer.
This is in our neighborhood.
This is in our community.
Our community.
And
right.
It serves the Western Pennsylvania, West Virginia, like Tennessee, Ohio, the whole region, right? The whole right. Midwestern region, right? It's one of the nodes right. that serves this region, right? And the trucks can reach maybe 100 to 150 miles out. Okay, mm-hmm. Okay. So this is a node in the supply chain. Right. And you remember they suddenly stopped.
They just
and
abandoned
they were, as
ship,
if yeah. Trains do come in and out, but the activity went way down.
Right.
Okay. And you remember at the same time they were blaming all this on, lazy workers who didn't want to go back to work.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
And it's total bullshit
bullshit.
Because they weren't employing people around here.
No, they weren't. They promised, they said we're going to build out this hub mm-hmm. in your little area, in your little impoverished area in Pittsburgh. So they built it here in order to not have to pay taxes.
Exactly.
That's why we're an opportunity zone. All this industry comes in and into this area
because it's infrastructure.
And
it doesn't
fucks up our area.
So they don't pay any local taxes.
None.
Into the local tax base.
Right.
And so
they didn't offer any jobs.
Right. And I'll tell you something. The set of tracks that go in and out of this thing block a specific road that basically there's two ways in and out of this one part of town.
Right.
And there was the company that I worked for, which was a school bus company.
Which has since closed.
Since closed. But I was blocked. I would get blocked from getting in or out because of the train. Sometimes it would just sit there because they were loading more cars onto the train, and they had to have so much room that they to do this, that they blocked that road. Well, there was also an ambulance company. There's also an ambulance company over in this part of the.
That's
so
right.
now they only had one way to get in and out, and if that bridge, which is the other way to get in and out, is blocked, that whole part of town is completely cut off.
Is completely cut off, which is something that Rosa Quare said, that you will be cut off from what you need through neglect and through like opportunity zone infrastructure.
Right.
Like
so
this is
the whole point of the reason we're bringing up the CSX thing is because they put these things into place so that there's no tax base coming in, and it chokes off the life of that community.
Exactly. So what's going on?
And it doesn't offer jobs either.
So CSX, what does it stand for?
Oh,
like
I don't know.
Central State Transportation or something.
I don't know, but
it's like it has to do with the trucking industry. It has to do with the supply chain.
It's a train. It's trains.
Right.
Okay. I think that I mentioned it in that little piece I put onto Instagram about the oil.
Sure.
Part.
Yeah.
I think that a big investor, and I forget who he is.
Oh, it's one of the Buffetts, right?
Yeah, Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett?
I think that he's one of the investors or the owners or something of CSX.
Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now CSX has been lifted up as being sort of green infrastructure as well, because they use trains that are hybrid diesel electric, and it's like they can carry so much freight for so little, so they're very efficient, and it's true, it is very efficient. But again, something that does not help a community, that does not help the United States, is only there for corporate interests and capitalism.
Right.
Exists for the sake of capitalism and helps only capitalism.
Right. So I think what's going to happen in Canada, if we take a look at our tiny little community, our little flyover community that is an opportunity zone, and we apply what we have seen with our own two eyes right outside our front door, and we apply it to Canada, what we can see,
or the United States,
but in the context of the trucker convoy,
right?
Let's apply what we understand over here on this platform to what's going to happen in Canada. This is what we opine. This is what we believe. COVID came in order to decimate the economy, in order to shut down big thriving cities like, say, Toronto and various other thriving economic powerhouse cities.
Or even Ottawa, which is the capital city.
Let's shut everything down, empty it out, kill the jobs, turn those places essentially into opportunity zones, allow the intermodal transportation system, the trucking system, the supply chain system and logistics to enter into these places, further cut off any opportunity for these places to build back, right, to actually build back,
right,
and utilize those spaces for the benefit of, like, say, Uber Freight or Elon Musk or whatever Amazon. Or Amazon.
You notice there's an Amazon warehouse and just everywhere now.
Exactly. So that is what you, as a Canadian, are cheering on. The decimation of your small communities, just like the decimation of our community or your big communities, to allow modes of containers that will be loaded onto trains, which Warren Buffett benefits from globally, to allow the shipments on those trains to stop in your area, which was once a beautiful bucolic community, to stop in your area, offload containers, and use those areas to benefit what we said before, Amazon, Elon Musk. Not only that, the distribution will be monitored and surveilled through surveillance technology that they'll put underground. Okay? All of this has to do with investment. All of this has to do with turning something that was a livable environment with parks and homes and nice schools and freedom of movement. All of this has to do with changing the way you live your life. You're not going to want to be in a neighborhood like ours. You're not going to want to be in these newly designed neighborhoods that benefit Elon Musk and Uber Freight and Amazon and whoever else is involved. You're not going to want to be there.
Right, but people are going to get forced into them.
Right. So this is what you're cheering on, and this is why we were so frustrated, and JP lost his shit on Bookmark yesterday, because we get it. we live it, guys. We've seen it with our own two eyes. We have seen the transportation, train, and truck industry make promises to an uninformed community, and that community rallied these ideas in the same way that people are rallying for the truckers. They rallied, they went into the municipal meetings here in our local community, stuffed those meetings, wall-to-wall. People were super excited about the jobs that were coming. They were given all slick pamphlets to say, that this is really happening. This is really exciting for us. It's going to put our little decrepit community on the map because we're going to be the supply chain for Ohio, West Virginia, Western Pennsylvania, and all this. And yet, it's gotten worse for the people.
Well, and we were literally asked to write marketing content for that.
And we were asked to write the marketing content about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so then that's why we know about this, right?
That's why we understand it.
And for it to go even further, see, because it doesn't just end there. It continues, right? So in this local example, they put in a Speedway gas station.
Right. So then
in a brownfield area that was originally
designed.
Originally earmarked for local businesses.
Right.
And there was money that was set aside and given to the developer to favor small businesses from the area that would provide jobs for the area.
For the local community.
And they were subsidized, so it would have been cheaper for them to buy, buildings or facilities on this land. But instead, he gave it over to the CSX thing. Uh-huh. Then he put a fucking Speedway gas station in there.
Right.
Okay, now everyone was like, "Oh yay, Speedway! We're gonna have a Speedway. It's gonna be, and it's
horrible.
At tops, it's 10 jobs.
Right.
For local people that are shitty jobs.
Right.
And it pollutes the skyline, right?
Right.
This little community, as you were coming over the bridge, there were these beautiful church tops, this onion top churches of these, Orthodox.
Gorgeous. Orthodox church, beautiful.
And there was a Catholic church. And
homes peppering the side of the mountain. It was gorgeous.
Now, when you get closer, it's
like all blighted and gross. But from a distance, it's beautiful. And our bridge is blue, and it was very, photogenic.
Right.
And now what they have is a giant neon Speedway sign in the middle of this beautiful sort of
picturesque, right, and it lights up the sky,
and it's horrible. So just to recap what he just said. So a brown field is an empty field. It's an open field.
It's formerly industrial.
It's ready to be built on, and there is a local baker that makes famous cinnamon rolls, believe it or not, that are quite popular throughout the East Coast. And it's right here in our little community. And he has a small, tiny little bakery. And he was super excited that he got to expand. Mm-hmm. Not only was he going to be able to expand his brand by opening up a larger bakery and a larger...
And a true industrial facility.
He was probably going to be able to bring in 50 jobs.
Right.
Because he needed people to package and make and ship out the product. And so it was designated for him and I think another few very, very local artisan types. Mm-hmm. And instead, the developer,
Craig Ripple,
the guy that we talked about before, Craig Ripple, Rippole, he lied to the community, backtracked on the contract, which is that this land can only be developed for local jobs, no international corporations or anything like that. And he was like, sure. They got the money together somehow. It was hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is a lot for this community. They got the money together somehow, and he ended up turning it over to a company that only brings in about
10 to 15 jobs.
10 to 15 jobs, if that.
And they're shitty jobs.
And they're shitty jobs behind a cash register in a neon facility that's ruined the skyline for this community. This is what your life is going... This is what you're cheering on the side of the road. Mm-hmm. This is what, life is going to be like for you if you don't pay attention. We have a friend who was literally talking to me on the phone, and she's looking across the street, and she's like, wait a minute. They're tearing down all of the trees. All of the trees next to this beautiful little stream. Why are they doing that? You see, you have to be able to pay attention to what's going on in your local community so that you know, you may not have the power to stop this kind of rollover of your communities. So you're going to need to know what you need to do next for yourself. JP and I truly believe that we through some cosmic intervention, we were brought to this community to learn about sustainable development, to learn about this really treacherous, caustic infrastructure that kills the local economies and kills local spirit, so that we could then signal it out to the rest of the world through a book of ours by saying, this is what you can come to expect. And this whole thing with the Canadian trucker convoy stuff, it goes directly in line with what we experienced on a very small level right here in our own community. We have the answer. That is the answer. I am sorry that it hurts people's feelings. I am sorry that it feels like a wet blanket on your, the groups of people.
Your bonfire.
Your bonfire and coming together. I'm sorry about that. But this is just business. This is what business does. They're looking for opportunity zones to increase their bottom line. This is what Elon Musk does. This is what Uber Freight does. This is what CSX does. This is what Warren Buffett does. This is what Speedway does.
Right.
They're looking for places that they can occupy and see their bottom line grow. They don't care about the people. They don't care about the environmental problems that this has caused us.
And that's the next thing that they're going to try to pretend.
They're going to obfuscate the actual environmental causes
that they create.
They're going to obfuscate that by saying, well, this is all about, greening the earth and green technology.
And by the way, you're at fault.
And by the way, it's your fault.
because you're a consumer that we conned into doing this shit in the first place.
Exactly.
Polluting the earth. We're doing our part. Why aren't you doing yours? Get in line.
Exactly. So this is what's really going on. And unfortunately, our platform is being
attacked,
and
squelched.
Where this true depiction of what's really happening in Canada is not getting out there. So I've started to make comments on super popular posts where there's, 873 comments and 10,000 reposts about people saying, yay, people are coming together and they're going to do away with the mandates and this is so awesome and I'm so glad that this is happening and yay, convoy and all this stuff. I just put in a simple little article that says 25,000 Canadian trucker jobs will be going away in less than a year. And I join in and say, I'm so glad that these people are getting together to save these jobs. Mm-hmm. I'm so glad that people are coming together to keep the working class relevant in their communities. And people are like, wait, what? What?
Does not compute.
You mean 25? What?
This is the equivalent
this does not compute.
This is the equivalent of the corporate person living in their silo going,
does not compute.
Right, because people are not allowed to pay attention to what's really going on.
Right. No, they're
and
not.
when you do, like us, you get fucked over.
Well, I would say that so we certainly don't have the kind of reach that we should have regarding this information. This is gold. Like, this is really
I
good.
should be making a living doing what I do.
Right.
Right? But we barely scratch anything together to pay for our fucking internet connection.
Right. So I would say that we should appreciate the people we do have.
We do appreciate the people that we do have because they help us. They help us scrape together our internet connection. But what I'm trying to say,
pay the fees and all
pay the
that,
fees.
yeah.
But because we pay money for Melon app, we pay money to be on the internet. We pay
Melon
money,
app is our streaming service.
We pay money to have our website. We pay money. We don't pay money for Rockfin. But we did for the system
Vimeo.
for Vimeo that kicked us
took
off.
us down.
Right. So now we don't have that expense anymore.
Right.
But you know what I'm trying to say is it's like I should be making a living from this.
Right.
Which, you know, there are people out there who really appreciate it, and if they had it within their power, they would allow me to make a living from this.
Right. If they had the means to do that, they would, because they do appreciate what we bring to the table. So those are the people I want to try to concentrate on. I kind of want to let the people that are super popular, you know.
Well, they can all fuck off, as far as I'm concerned.
I was going to be a little bit more diplomatic
I don't
and
care.
say I kind of want to.
We bring on some of these people. Like, okay, we just brought on we're going to release our Palevsky interview on Tuesday. Okay. But like, you know, and he's a great guy and everything, but you know, he has no idea how he doesn't have to scrape and work hard to get his word out there. He fucking goes, you know, he's invited to speak in places.
Right.
And, you know, and he already makes a good living as a doctor.
Palevsky.
Yeah.
Right. So what's the problem? Like,
well, I don't think
you want the same kind of respect that he has, right?
Sure.
You want that same kind of respect.
Well,
and you deserve it.
Well, they
don't.
They get vilified, you know, like, you know, Tenpenny does. I don't care about her as much, but like Palevsky and Northrop, you know, they've been both okay. So I don't necessarily want their infamy, but
unfortunately, I think that it might come with.
I'm getting the infamy and the unpopularity. That's what I'm trying to say.
So not only are you getting attacked in general by bots, or we are, but we're also being ignored. So it's like, come on, if we're going to be attacked, can't we at least be popular?
Right.
Is what you're saying.
Right. Exactly.
Like, I get it. Okay.
Yeah. So you know.
Yeah. Well, here's a good comment. So putting those articles like that is what made me wake up, because I read all the comments and learned. So Frida is talking about how what I just said, where I jump into this melee of hysteria, right? This crazy, like, feel good, hysterical, you know, kumbaya shit, and I go, oh, that's awesome. I'm so excited that they're coming together to save the 25,000 jobs that they're going to be losing. And so Frida, thank God, Frida has a critical thinking skills where she's like, oh, wait a minute, what?
What? Yeah. So that's good. Thank you, Frida.
That's good. So there are people out there.
No, they're getting it. And I thank the people who are listening in, all two of you, and.
Actually, there's four.
There's four. See, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know. We should be. There are people that are the dumbest people I've ever heard in my entire life. Like, all they have to do is hit the live button on their social media pages, and they get flooded with 6,000 views. And all they have to do is sit there and say the word like booger, and they get
they just fart or something like. You know, or you know, people whose names rhyme with like audio lobber, you know, and they just go and they go live and go, oh my God, and they get you know hundreds of views instantly.
Right.
Know?
So again, though, I'd like to say that those popular platforms and those popular people that have utilized social media have utilized it for a lot longer than we have. And they had an inboard audience. Like, we learned that another popular social media influencer ran for office and got like 35,000 votes in her tiny community in Massachusetts. And when she decided to get out of politics, all of those people who voted for her and fell in love with her, trickled on over and followed her onto her social media platforms. So these people they have backgrounds, they have a past.
Well, it's just
that
like,
has followed them to their place.
Just a side note, just real quick, and we should wrap this up soon.
Yeah,
but we've got a pair of cardinals, of male and female, at the feeder right now.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And they're yeah, that's
really nice. That's one thing we do like about all the snow and stuff, is the cardinals come from somewhere.
Yeah, because the cardinals don't have anywhere else to go, and although we don't have peanuts, like, they usually only come to our feeder if we have peanuts.
They love peanuts,
right? But they're like, look, there's nothing else to eat. I might as well go to this place and check out what they have.
We got to get more of those cardinal peanuts. Yeah, those are really popular.
So anyway, with the cardinals, but so I don't know what I was going to say next.
No, it's okay. Like, you have been experiencing this for 2 years now, where you have as much valuable information as Christiane Northrup has. in your field and in your expertise about the way the world works,
mm-hmm.
and especially the way the business and corporate and technology have all merged with government.
Right.
You get it better than anyone I know.
It's just too bad I can't put that into like a business acumen, right? Because
it's boring, JP.
I know. Well, that's what I mean.
It's
yeah.
so boring.
It's boring.
People are much more like when you give them a practical answer to, and unfortunately, that practicality is done through is filtered through our cynicism of being San Franciscans.
Mm-hmm.
People are just like, that's not exciting.
Mm-hmm.
They would much prefer to be emotionally charged with something,
right?
Than
I know. But what I'm saying is I don't have the ability to turn my knowledge and information into a means of making money as a business person.
Okay, so I'm going to
stop. I suck in the corporate world.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there because I know for a fact that is not true.
Well, no, it is because I don't have the ability to really.
That is not true. You do have the ability. It's that there are systems in place and circumstances in place which are keeping you down on purpose.
Just like our platform.
Our platform.
I can't make it as an artist. I can't make it in business. I can't make it as an influencer. So what the fuck am I supposed to do, right?
I think you're doing
fine.
Then
they took away my bus driving job.
Mm-hmm.
So even when I was compromising and saying, okay, I'll lower myself.
I'll lower myself and go far, far beneath my capabilities because I need to bring money into this house.
And then they take that away,
They took that away, too. No, I get it. And it sounds like you're being, it sounds like you're being self-pitying, but you're not. You're just being honest.
Honest and angry.
Honest and angry. And I know for a fact that what you have produced in the marketing and corporate world, especially with your UX background,
mm-hmm.
has been appreciated in areas that are, you know what I'm saying? People really do appreciate what you're bringing to the table when you are there. So there is that. There's also one or two people out there in the billions of people that occupy this planet that look at us and go, wow, this is pretty good stuff. And they share it. And they do their best to help us. So we have to recognize that.
Well, I do.
You know. Every little comment, every little...
We're up to 5 now.
Every little idea that we put out there and every little description of what's really going on. We're not here to... And then we will end here, okay? We're not here to alienate people. We're not here to make people feel bad about the convoy. We are simply describing what's going on. That's it. We're describing it.
And yet Dark Horse podcast exists.
I know, right?
So,
again, they had New York Times articles written about them.
I know.
They had an inborn audience. They also have they also had millions of dollars to begin with because they sued the school that they were working at. There is a whole history, a story behind them.
But,
so they had,
but why don't they get squelched?
Because they're probably paid by the New York Times. I don't know. That's because I had the answer. I'm just having a hard time articulating it. Dark Horse podcasts are made up of a married couple. That married couple were teachers at Evergreen College. Those teachers decided to use a situation at the college that they were teaching at, to use a situation that was kind of political and controversial to their advantage. I don't care what the situation was, whether it was Black Lives Matter or Fish Lives Matter. I don't give a shit. They used a controversial situation to their advantage, sued the school, went to the press. They had students that were already behind them, so they had an inborn audience that has since graduated and grown and have pulled more people into their platform and into their ideas. went to the press. The New York Times did an article about them. They have Wikipedia pages attached to them, which they probably created. They have curated their popularity using that one controversial situation that happened at the school where they were teaching.
Mm-hmm.
They used that to their advantage. They probably consulted with lawyers.
Well, and they made
image makers.
They made a few $1 million on it too.
And of course, they sued the school and made millions of dollars.
And that's why they, but their content is pablum.
I know. It's just blah, 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 whatever. So they don't understand, like, what's going on in the real world. It's just a lot of noise coming out of their extremely popular podcast. So, unless you do something like that, where you take advantage of a controversial situation and benefit from it somehow by putting all of the right people in place to support you, like lawyers and image makers and media people. And then you can capitulate on that and move it into like a podcast scenario or whatever. They are not, you can't compare.
I know you can't. I know that.
Because they're not.
But I'm just saying, why do they, why is it they even exist, right? I know why, but you know what I'm saying.
I just explained why. I know. Because they took advantage of a controversial
I understand
situation.
that, but it's like, what I'm saying is, it's like, I'm being sarcastic here. It's like, we are doing what we do, getting ignored, and yet they exist. Right. You see what I'm saying? It's just like, course. It's bullshit.
It is.
It's total
bullshit.
Fucking bullshit.
It is. No.
And we know that Ollie from, Philosophy Tube.
Oliver Thorne.
Oliver Thorne is a complete asset.
Abigail Thorne.
Abigail Thorne, yeah.
Is an asset.
Is a complete asset. And that's why, they have so much fucking money and clout in the influencer
So when
world.
They announced that they were going to be transitioning, we were like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
We're not against transitioning in general. We're against the fact that, behavioral insights teams that are funded by certain administrations, whether it's out of the UK, because Oliver Thorne is a UK-based a platform, or whether it's out of the United States, that would be Cass Sunstein, who's, an operative out of the CIA, if not, what was he, like the director of the CIA?
No.
No, he wasn't the director, but anyway, these are heavily funded people that have been manipulated to, create an agenda. We're not against people transitioning. There are people that are transitioning that we're okay with.
What I'm saying is that this person is an asset, and that's why they are where they are.
Right. Whether they're transitioning or not, they're an asset, and
that's
why they're popular.
To me. Yeah, that's
why they're popular. Same thing with Dark Horse. It somehow benefits.
Yeah.
So, when you are somebody like us who is talking about class issues, and we do put the corporations, however small or however global they are, we do put them on notice, and we do explain that there are certain psyops going on, which make it so that people will behave in ways that they would not normally behave. It's when we started talking about the behavioral insights teams that are behind everything that we became truly, truly squelched. Mm-hmm. And I'm not going to apologize for that.
I'm not either.
I made a video about it. I brought it up. I am not going to walk that back, because that is what all of this is about. Whether it's COVID, whether it's truckers, whether it's the way your municipalities run even outside of COVID. There are behavioral insights teams that are affecting the decisions you make for yourself. And so you've got to know who you are as an individual and be 100,000% in line with that, so that you can continue to live your life outside of all of these behavioral operations, which are modifying the way we live our life.
Yeah.
Okay? Mm-hmm. Should I end now?
We can end now.
Okay. Thanks for joining, guys. Tune in on Tuesday when we talk to Dr. Pilevsky. Bye-bye.